Hi there, Thomas. Uh,
Oh, can you
Hey, how's
hear
it
me?
going?
Hi. I was just saying that this room was just to get a bit of an idea. If people are interested in moves to find additional ways to fund projects, but the unfunded projects, because as you know, as we all know, there's a budget, and the budget can run out very quickly. So I've been looking at additional ways through native tokens, NFTs, things like this, through commerce designated in ADA, and just basically interested in people's views on funding the unfunded.
Yeah. Carl, this was a tremendously important thing to me when I first joined Snapbrillia a month ago, and has been one of the major issues that I've been pushing forwards internally within the team. How do we get projects that don't necessarily win catalyst funding, still the opportunity to build the things that they want to build? And we think we've come up with a work in progress solution. We're going to see how it goes. We'll trial it, test it, see how it works. Currently on Snapbrillia, you can put up a bounty for a project in ADA. And if you put up a bounty for a project in ADA, a developer comes along, completes that project, they get paid. Well, we were thinking, well, why don't we start bounties in Cardano native assets? So you can then say you want to find developers, but you don't have the cash right now. You can
Yeah.
find developers that are willing to work for a share of your organization instead of cash up front. And we think
Right.
this will be huge for accelerating growth on Cardano.
Totally. That's a fantastic idea. Yeah. And what's your role in Snapbrillia?
I'm the chief marketing officer. I hate the term. I want it to be changed to like chief growth officer or something, right? I don't know, right? Marketing. Imagine
Megatron.
marketing to Cardano. Yeah.
No, but yeah. So that is very much in the spirit, because the trouble is with a lot of things on Cardano in the community, etc., is a lot of good ideas get shot down. I mean, I don't mean in the context you've just been saying, but there seems to be a few people around who are, I don't know, just very negative. And if it's not exactly what they want to do, they just say, no, everything's rubbish, everything's rubbish. And in Fund 9, and anybody just jump in, and also obviously Thomas on video, I feel that the challenges, there's been a bit of a sea change in the types of challenges. A lot of the ones that have been around for the last 4 or 5 funds are not appearing at all, and the voting has been a lot more strategic. So a lot of very, I mean, I've had a look at a lot of the unfunded ones, and I've got somebody working on now separating out the funded and unfunded, and there's some really, really good proposals, lots of great energy, etc. I mean, myself, I've been funded in the last 2 funds. This fund, nowhere. And I've been full-time nearly 14 months now on blockchain, and I've had 3 out of something like about 60 proposals funded. And so involving the community and giving people a way for it to be more inclusive, as you've just said, I think is a fantastic way forward. I'd obviously like you to put us in contact somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's link up. We got our website, Snapbrillia. We got our Twitter, Snapbrillia.
Right.
But I'll drop you an email as well. Or do you know what? What I can do right now for you? I'll drop a Calendly link, and we'll arrange a chat at some point.
Cool.
About this. But just to go back to the kind of topic at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many good projects out there that don't get funded. And I think it's by a nature of how Catalyst has been set up. I saw there was a project for a decentralized metaverse. I'm big into gaming, but I won't play a game that's on Cardano unless it's decentralized, because it doesn't have that Cardano spirit otherwise, right? It's not designed in a way that's in line with that ethos. I want it to be decentralized. I want it to be open source. I want it to be transparent, but that's just what I want, right? There are other things and that other people in the community want, and they want built. And it's tragic when we see that these projects who've got, good backing, good fundamentals, but just don't get the funding because Daedalus Turbo comes along and thinks that they can do it better than IOG.
Yeah, yeah. And just a question then on the decentralized aspect. If something is run by a DAO, do you consider that decentralized?
Well, I mean, the decentralization comes in different tiers, right? So you can have something that's run by a DAO, but all of its infrastructure is on a single server. I'm talking, okay, let's reach out to stake pool operators, get them to run the tech, so that if one of them goes down, then you've still got that, you're still in the business, right? If you've got a metaverse, for example, right? If you've got a metaverse that relies on centralized server and hosting solutions to run, their company goes bankrupt. Do you think I can afford to run? Well, I can, but do you think the average Joe can afford to run $100,000 worth of server infrastructure to keep the game running? I don't know. The community could pull together. You could DAOify it, but I think when it comes to decentralization, you really want to. It's a spectrum, right?
So you're obviously talking about decentralization of server power, of CPU power within the community. Does that solution exist at the moment?
Well, I've been chatting to a guy called Stephen, incredibly talented network engineer, and he's working on a few proof. I asked him over the weekend, hey, can you listen? I love what you're saying. You sent me a white paper. Listen, the white paper talks about game features and gameplay and all that kind of stuff. I don't really care about that right now. Can you show me a proof of concept where you can decentralize the gameplay of this thing? So he went away over the weekend. He came back and he showed me this fantastic game. It was like a tic-tac-toe kind of chessboard thing. It was like little weebles moving on a board. But every time you made a move, it checked with 3 servers.
Right.
Is that move legal?
Right.
And then when it determined that it was, it came back. And then the game itself was hosted between all of the parties. So it's like, okay, well, this is interesting. This is a foundation.
Well, yeah, and I mean there are some models that are using well, like you said. I mean, the basic one is the stake pool, obviously, where the power of the network is actually funding it rather than AWS or Google or one of these centralized or semi-centralized. I had a conversation with a company just recently where they are a bridge between game developers and AWS and one other company. They don't actually provide any server space. They just take a margin in the beginning, but they're bridging between the game engines. So again, the gaming, and I've mentioned metaverse because I think that particularly, I don't know if you identify as millennial or around this sort of area, but basically,
like that,
yeah. Well, basically, I'm finding that my demographic is 18 to 45. It's in that area, and they're very, very aware of three-dimensional interfaces. Let's call it that. I come 3D websites. So the thing is that if as that is the case, there is a opportunity to raise funds and then to disseminate them. I mean, my idea is to have a DAO, which 75% of all the money that's raised will actually be used to fund projects. Obviously, I've got behind the Cardano community hubs nom de plume because that's what Charles came up with. But basically, a hub can be one person, a hub can be 100 people. It doesn't, it depends what it's going to do. At the end of the day, it's just an organization of people who are behind Cardano. So I'm thinking to actually blend, and I like you. This is why I like your idea of people being able to partake in the decentralization by using their CPUs. The whole thing about Cardano, I think you just highlighted it, is that Cardano is supposed to be about the community. Would you agree with that? It's all about the community.
100%. You need the community to exist to keep it decentralized. If it was just run by a central organization, then it wouldn't really be decentralized, would it?
But would you also say it's also about keeping the community engaged? Because some of the things that's going on now, I mean, like we've just been on a one of the main events of the week in terms of Project Catalyst, and it's like 140 people max. And, there are, I've just opened over 1,200, nearly 1,300 wallets, right, with new people that I've brought into the Cardano thing, right. So that's just one person, and there's only 140 people who are showing interest in coming in this. So this is why I think that the voting and the number of projects that are being funded, and that this is going to be just really important. And anyway, I mean, the other thing as well that I'm finding is that there's a lot of apathy, unfortunately, in the community. There's not a lot of engagement, and I'm wondering if it's to do with the fact that people can't see where they can benefit, where they can profit from it. Because at the end of the day, we talk a lot about community and people.
Well, Carl, let me stop you right there, right? I think that a lot of people are profit driven, right? A lot of people are
Exactly.
centered on making money, but ultimately, when you think about it this way, the same people who are thinking about making money are also thinking about preserving the money they've got, right? That's fair. If you made gains, you want to preserve those gains. And the reality of the situation is when the US government is stealing your money by printing 17%, by doing 17% inflation each year, right? If you can't get them on the you'll make money, you can get them on you'll save money. But we should really be looking at how this technology revolutionizes the industry as a whole. Yeah, it's great. Like, we all love making money, right? We all love making cash. That's well and good, right? That's easy. The hard part is changing the world. And that's the part we should be focusing on. When you get people on board with this, I had a meeting earlier today with 3 new interns, right? And I spent an hour just sitting down explaining to them what blockchain is, what Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 were, and why blockchain is important. At the end of it, all of them went in thinking blockchain was about money, and they came out thinking blockchain's about changing the world. And that's what we should be aiming for. Because it is. It's about that. It's that revolution. And yeah, it's the money to be made. There's money to be made anywhere. Whenever there's war, there's money to be made, right? And there's an ideological war for us to change the function of commerce. So of course there's money to be made there. But ultimately, more importantly, there's change to be made. And I think being part of that change-making process should be something that anyone's proud to be a part of.
But but is that your main driver then, is revolution?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it revolution. Let's not be too hasty, right?
But because a lot of people are talking about changing the world that in the past nobody knew what they were talking about, and today this is all the best way to do everything, and it's all we know what we're doing, and you fucked around like in the past. I personally like the bridge. There's the real world, there's what's happened, and as you say, there's the Fed and that you've got the SEC and everything else. And they are trying to crush this industry because they can't control it. So I do believe that, because decentralization is, again, lack of control by any one entity. So I agree with you on that. I would just like there to be a really positive environment. I think that too many people, like when websites started, you couldn't sell anything on a website or you were a horrible person, right? And now websites is one of the biggest ways you sell anything now in the world. And the same thing goes with the blockchain industry and everything else, is that, we shouldn't be ashamed of the profit motive. It's all part and parcel of the driver, or at least improving people's lives. So as long as people feel that their lives are going to improve, and that can be many different ways, not only just in case of pounds and pennies and everything else, or ADA. So, okay, my question is then, now I've seen more and more of Snapbrillia growing on my consciousness, right, of things that's going on there, and I'm in touch. Is it Nitran?
Nin, yeah, Nin Tran guy, ex-Googler.
We're supposed to have been in contact, but because of Fund 9 and delivering on my fund date and everything else, I've not had a chance to talk to him. But I have noticed that you as an organization, you're doing more and more and more. My question is about how we just capture this imagination, how we engage the communities, because this is what it's all about, and how we engage, not just 144 on a Wednesday night or a Wednesday morning, depending on where you are. So it's engaging people, keeping them engaged, and also, one, not turning them off, but also giving them what they need to turn them on. And I don't know, as an organization, are you talking about this? Are you looking at it?
Yeah. So I only joined Snapbrillia about a month ago, right? And I got in, and people know me in the community that I throw rocks at things that I don't agree with. I haven't made a lot of friends by doing it, but I've made really good allies by doing it. And we're all on the right mission to make sure that Cardano isn't about extracting as much wealth as possible from the ecosystem, and instead being like, how can we work together to build this? So the people who've sided with me, I think, are very much on that kind of way of train of thought. So when I first got in, I looked around, and I arranged a meeting at the end of the month with the founders, and was like, okay, so here's my assessment. Here's where we are. And I'll give you the long and short of it. We're living our values. The company lives its values, but there's so much more it can do. If it's about onboarding people into Web3, we need to have educational content, educational videos. We need to be getting out there, explaining to people the importance of this mission, because it's all well and good saying we're trying to onboard a million people into Web3, but we need to explain why it's important to onboard 1 million people into Web3. Second thing, we're funded by the Cardano community, right? We're funded by Cardano, we're funded by Catalyst. So we owe our allegiance, we owe to Catalyst the ability to actually not only deliver on the projects, which we do astoundingly well, but also to build an ecosystem out of these projects in an open source, in a decentralized, in a free and fair fashion, right? So that means building our SSI components to our wallet. That means adding and bringing users in. But one of the important things is empowering those people from underrepresented communities that we want to empower. So if someone from this underrepresented community has a project they'd like to develop and doesn't have the resources to do it, we've created multiple different avenues of making that happen. That's the plan, at least, you know. It's you know, we've got to on-chain token. Nina's just sent me a message saying that he's been given an ultimate pass to the Tech Expo. Anyway,
cool.
ultimately, I'll keep it short and sweet. Ultimately, it's about finding opportunities to make sure that we can springboard people who don't already have opportunities into building and accomplishing the things they're working towards. And I think that when you live that vision and you live your dream, you can make it happen.
Well, look, absolutely. I've been 44 years in business, and I've always tried to help the underdog. You know, because I was an underdog and I had no help whatsoever from anybody. So that's always something that there's an element of what we do. We have to make a profit as organizations, or we can't help other people. That's there's
the thing, right? Yeah. We win when they win, right? So if you get a project, you've got a token that's worth absolutely nothing right now, and you use our platform, you pay a small fee in your native token to list a bounty in your native token. We are massively incentivized that your project succeeds. And the Cardano community and the developers that work for your project are incentivized for your project to succeed. Right? We're building a system out of incentivization, of shared accomplishment. And you know, the only thing we ask is that you build it open source, which builds the ecosystem as a whole.
I mean, open source works very, very well. And you know, one of my businesses has been building websites since 1998. And everything's open source on that side. So, well, look, I think, Thomas, we probably need to get into the weeds more formally on this. But it's been nice to have a one-to-one with you.
It's been a pleasure.
There are a few lurkers, but none of them are on. None of the ones.
We've been outclassed by Snapbrillia by Daedalus Turbo, haven't we? So
I don't know. I mean, I saw this project, Daedalus Turbo. I mean, anything to speed it up would be great. So I believe that's what they're going to do. We'll see.
No, come on, they'll whiff-waff about it. I'll watch the VOD, see what they do. But if there's a way to make it fast, IOG would have had it. Let's be real.
Well, you would have thought so, but the thing is, of course,
maybe I'm wrong. But let's
downloading
be honest,
downloading a whole blockchain record is never going to be easy to do on one computer. Hey, I use probably about 10 different wallets. I use them all because I like to be able to explain to people, you know, how they all work and what's good, what's bad, what's the other. But anyway, look, if all that's come out of this room has just been us meeting, I think that with the things that I'm doing, and the things that I've seen that Snapbrillia is doing, I will educate myself a little bit more, and then
I've sent you an invite link. Come on, let's have a chat. I'll get you in the actual call with Nin. He's such a busy man, but I'll get you in that call with Nin and me. We'll have a chat about it and see how we can help each other out.
Absolutely, and by helping each other out, what my hope is that we can then go down that wonderful list of unfunded and help them to move at least a bit further forward.
That's the plan, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll close this room. Great to talk to you, Thomas. Nice to have met you.
Been a pleasure.